the governor.
Doctor Who Season 2 continues with Episode 4, Lucky Day. And I can't lie, so far, this series is on a winning streak. It is yet to have a bad or below average episode, and that's great. It's been so long since there's been like this consistent a streak of Doctor Who that every single episode I've properly enjoyed. I won't give away all my thoughts immediately on this episode, you've got the rest of the video to come. But yeah, we'll break it down in chronological order. It's safe to say though, this was another good episode. It's obviously a Dr. Light episode as well, and I've seen a bunch of debate before the episode actually aired about people saying, is there space for a Dr. Light episode in a season that's only 8 episodes long? And normally I'd say no. Like last year I thought Dot and Bubble and 73 Yards, as good as they were as episodes, that was Ncuti's first season. We needed to see more of him. I kind of get that complaint here as well, but also I think because the Doctor and Belinda are stranded, and because we already had Ruby set up last year, and you've got Unit, and to be fair, you do have some starring moments from the Doctor anyway, like that scene in the TARDIS. Obviously we'll discuss that at the end, because the metaphors in that scene,
I don't accept your reality.
It was literally a call out to all of the right-wing grifter Doctor Who YouTuber people, but we'll discuss that later because that was good fun. I think it structurally worked really well within this season. Like, I did miss seeing the Doctor and Belinda, and it is a shame there are only 8 episodes. Like, Belinda will only have 7 episodes really where she's fully on screen. But the episode itself was just so good. Like, it was just good. I didn't find myself thinking, oh, it's a shame the Doctor's not here while watching. I was just immersed in the story. But as I say, we'll take it from the top and start by talking about the pre-title sequence, which was really cool. Whoever directed this episode as well, they did a fantastic job. That opening shot, panning away from the London Eye, then to the TARDIS, all of that was really nice. And it is still mad that, obviously the episode's not primarily set there, but 2007, when you say 2007, it doesn't particularly sound like that long ago. Like, to think that the David Tennant, like mid-David Tennant era was that long ago, that's what Conrad would have looked like at the time, is kind of mad. Ncuti was just brilliant as the Doctor. I don't know what it is about his performance compared to Season 1 and Season 2, but it's just perfect in terms of Doctor vibes.
We are winning!
Like, it was properly popping off. I mean, he was in the episode for a tiny amount, but well and truly the Doctor. I think there is a darker streak to him as well, but like seen in the opening scene, he's still very much got that silliness and that light, and I liked that Belinda was just like, okay, can we go now?
We need to get home.
I did think maybe her motivations slightly contrast with last week, where she seems to be getting on board with the Doctor a little bit more, but it wasn't anything too bad, and I think if Belinda didn't still want to get home, it would be a bit quick to turn that around. So I liked that opening scene. I thought the idea of the Doctor giving the 50p to young Conrad, that was really nice. You can see why he'd become obsessed with the Doctor. It properly shocked me when, like, you feel, I think this is what the episode does really well. It makes you really feel for the characters, because when Conrad was just smacked round the face by his mum at the New Year's Eve thing in 2007, it properly makes you go like, oh, like, God, this guy's life is bad. I think it's interesting that he's a properly fleshed out character as well. They didn't just go for, as soon as the switch happens, he's evil, and he's always been evil or whatever. Like, you can see why he's ended up in the position he has when he's had such a struggle with his family life as a child. Because I think, as I say, we'll touch on it properly later, but that whole right-wing rhetoric thing does appeal to disillusioned young men like Conrad who have had a difficult life and then think, oh, well, how do I get power? How do I keep this power within my life? Oh, well, I'll go down this conspiracy route. But then we get the title sequence, and I immediately, my mind immediately, this is Love and Monsters 2. The second that Conrad, what's he say? He's like, that's when I met the Doctor. And you get this nice little Elton Pope vibe, retelling of his encounter with the Doctor. Then, just like Elton, the blue box crops up again, he sees it, and he goes after them. And you know what? I don't even mind Love and Monsters as an episode. I mean, it gets called the worst episode of all time, but I think it's quite fun. But this was definitely better than Love and Monsters. There was no Peter Kay in a fat suit. Maybe that's what was needed instead. I think it's also worth noting where I don't know whether he did it to fool Ruby into trusting him more, but the coat Conrad wears is basically just like a blue version of the coat he first saw the Doctor wearing all the way back in 2007. So yeah, shout out to the costume department. I clocked onto that because I think his whole character, his whole motivation at the start of the episode is appealing to Ruby as, I'm like the Doctor's not in your life anymore, I can be that person in your life. Even though Ruby isn't really looking for a replacement to the Doctor, like she wants something different. I think we've got to talk about Ruby as well. I mean, the episode starts off as kind of Conrad's perspective, Conrad's episode, then it shifts more into Ruby's perspective. And it's so nice to see her, like, fleshed out properly. Because I think in season 1, you never got many arguments with her and the Doctor. Which, in a way, I quite liked come this episode. Because it gets properly addressed with the, like, she never slowed down. I think she literally says at one point, like, she's got PTSD from it. There was no slowing down. There was no chance to process. I mean, she was very young as well. In this episode, she's 20. I'm pretty sure in last season she's supposed to be 19. And then when you contrast her with a companion like Belinda, who I think's in her early 30s, you can see a maturity difference. And you can see why, like, a 19-year-old boarding the TARDIS would just see all the fun and games and not really process it until she gets back home. I did expect, though, in that first flashback scene to the Doctor and Ruby from season 1, that wasn't actually in season 1, but that time period, I did, expect there to be Autons, because the amount of shop window dummies, and did that not just give you the vibe of, is it Henrik's department store from season 1 where Rose works? I thought it was going to be like a little play, because obviously it's 20 years since Rose. I thought they were going to do something with that, but they didn't. I mean, it doesn't detract from the episode. Were you not just expecting the mannequin's hand to, like, grab him or move or something? I mean, the Shriek as a villain, we'll talk more about later, but yeah, I thought they were pretty good, pretty fun, nothing too notable. It was just like a generic Doctor Who creature. It very much felt like a unit, like a creature unit would face. Like, you could imagine something like that in the John Pertwee era, but on a much lesser budget. I mean, the fake Shriek would fit right into the John Pertwee era. Like, I suppose they're better than things like Invasion of the Dinosaurs visually. But yeah, the Doctor and Ruby, we get that little flashback bit. Those two together, like, I'd actually forgotten, and it's kind of given me a new appreciation. They do work really well. I think it is a shame there wasn't more conflict during season 1, but they're just like best friends, and it's like a nice and fun dynamic. And once again, I know I've already praised his performance here, but Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor interacting with Ruby Sunday there felt, I don't know, it felt different, and I really liked it. I don't know what it is exactly. I think I'll have to rewatch, but Ncuti's performance is genuinely just, it's on another level. It's so good now. Then you get the grand reveal that Conrad is in fact a podcaster, and Ruby has gone on his podcast, which this was the first moment where I thought a little bit like, would she do that? Like, if you've just travelled with the Doctor, I thought she was going to get told off by UNIT for going on the podcast or something, but like, would you really spill all those secrets? I mean, I guess it's kind of born out of a desire from Ruby. She says, like, she's tried to talk to her mates about it, but they think she's gone mad. I guess she just wants someone like Conrad, who she thinks knows the Doctor is real and will listen and will believe her. But then I think there's a whole step up from finding someone like Conrad to confide in and actually, I mean, we don't hear specifically what she says on the podcast, but like, I don't know. I also think the state of Earth in 2025 is an interesting discussion to have, because it's often like in the 2000s you had the whole thing of like the 21st century is when everything changes, and when the spaceship crashes into Big Ben, the Ninth Doctor's like, oh, humans, they're going to become aware of aliens now. But then people kind of forget, then the cracks in time in Series 5, people kind of forgot about all the alien invasions, but now they seem to remember them, and I do quite like that it's just an established part of the lore now. Like, people have seen aliens invade this planet so many times that if you don't believe in them, you're like a conspiracy theorist in this universe. But yeah, Ruby goes on Conrad's podcast, and then it's so sweet, and I think it's what makes the Conrad reveal later on really hit and really impactful.
Because there's a great little cafe around the corner.
Those two together are just great. Like, it's so fun. It's awkward. Like, you can't deny that it's a bit of awkwardness between the pair, but that's what makes it feel so real. Like, if they were both there, like romance leads in a romance film, just being really smooth with each other, it would be a bit cringe, but it feels really, really real. And you can see as well, like, the character motivations, once again, why they're both going for each other. Obviously, Conrad is lying, but you see why someone who met the Doctor as a kid would be obsessed with the Doctor, then end up idolising him. He's almost like a Doctor Who fan substitute, which I suppose he remains. He just switches from like a normal Doctor Who fan into a, I shall name no names, but right-wing grifter Doctor Who fan. One small thing as well, while I remember, it still baffles me, like, because this flashback with the Doctor and Ruby is set just after the Devil's Cord, and they make it abundantly apparent that it's after the Devil's Cord. Will we ever know or see what happened in that 6 months in between the end of Space Babies and the Devil's Cord? I cannot, and I still to this day cannot comprehend why we skipped 6 months with this character. Like, this isn't even like, oh yeah, we've had loads of companions. This was sort of supposed to be a reboot. It's called Season 1, and you skip the first 6 months of character development between your two protagonists. I mean, I know that's a problem from last year, and not a problem with this episode, but I was expecting maybe this flashback to be like their second adventure or something, so that we at least see it at some point, but no. I also thought it was funny with Conrad poking around the corner, taking pictures of the Doctor and Ruby. Like, is that representative of the hashtag DWSR people, the set reporters and everything? Because I feel like, shout out to Pete McTighe, who wrote this episode, I feel like he is very in tune with internet and internet culture and Doctor Who online, because I think it's one of the things, like, look, I love Russell T Davies, I really do. He's probably my favourite television writer of all time. Him and Stephen Moffat are up there. Sometimes when he tries to write younger people or social media stuff, it's a bit clunky, and sometimes it's a little bit cringe or maybe a bit outdated. Like, I know that sounds harsh, but some of the lines sometimes have come across, whereas I think Pete McTighe nailed the balance here. Like, I think somebody knows the online landscape well and was able to implement that into this episode so that it didn't feel out of touch. It felt quite real. But as I say, Ruby and Conrad's initial meeting on that podcast, and it was so funny. It did make me crack up. What was the line? I think he said, there's like a coffee shop down there if you fancy a quick one. Then there's a beat. They look at each other and he's like, a quick drink. And then he drops all the papers. It was properly fun. I mean, you could say the dropping the papers was a little bit cliched, like a romance film. But I don't know, I thought it worked. It was silly, but like, I don't think you drop the papers in real life. But this isn't real life, it's TV. What mattered is that the relationship felt real. And I think they nailed it. It was very fun. I really liked the sequence where Ruby is sat in the cafe with Conrad and is asking about, like, oh, what if the Shriek does find me? What happens then? And then all the lights start flickering, and obviously it's not really happening, but it was an excellent use of show don't tell. Like, it wasn't just being exposited to us as the audience, they were making us see it, they were making us feel what would happen if the Shriek were to come back and get Conrad, which also worked really well because it sets up how Conrad knows exactly how to fake a Shriek reappearance for later on in the episode. I think that's what's good as well, and I am going to need to rewatch it. I've only seen it once and then kind of twice to sort through clips to put in this video. But every little piece seemingly ties together and builds up, and obviously we'll discuss Mrs. Flood at the end of this video, because what is going on there? The governor? Who? Also, while I've got you here, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We're very, very close to 30,000 subscribers, which it means the world. So yeah, I'll carry on talking though. I also thought the theming and the constant bringing up of luck and lucky day was quite nice. Obviously it ties into season 1. Ruby's whole thing is bad luck at the start, and she thinks her luck's turning around. I wonder if this will have payoff in the finale or something, but yeah, there's a big focus on luck and chance and almost destiny within Ruby and her life. Another few standout lines from Ruby and Conrad's little romance thing. When he's asking her on a date and he says like,
You let me buy you dinner.
we could share whatever it, like that was, it was such a fun and not, like you really feel for them. Like, I was rooting for the pair of them to get together. Like, I thought going in, oh, there's something suspicious about Conrad. We've seen in the trailers he's got that cap on with Think Tank. But I kind of just got immersed and forgot about that and thought, okay, maybe that was wrong. Maybe the theories online were just wrong. These two work really well together. It was also really nice to see Ruby's family come back briefly. I thought, like, there's such a fun little presence. And Cherry stalking Conrad on social media was just so funny. Like, it feels like such a grandparent thing to do as well. Like, shout out to my grandma who's probably watching this video right now. But yeah, she will stalk people on Instagram. I mean, we all do it.
He's got your shirt off.
And it was very funny as well with Carla saying, well, of course I've stalked him as well. And then they're like talking about scrolling down and seeing more pictures of Conrad and Ruby just being awkward and embarrassed. Like, it once again, it feels so in tune with like 2025. It didn't feel like boomer humour or anything. It worked really nicely. When Conrad revealed as well that his mum had passed away, it's once again, all of these layers really make you care about the characters. And I think you can see, like, you could understand why him being abused as a child ends up leading to him obsessing over the Doctor, because that lucky day was sort of the only thing that brought him joy or comfort. And then I think this is where the metaphor for like the right-wing grifter Doctor Who fans kind of kicks in, of maybe like years ago as a kid you loved Doctor Who and you started watching it, it gave you comfort, but then as the years go on, I think they literally say like disillusioned young men look for someone to blame, look for something to blame, and you can make loads of money online by spouting negativity, giving false headlines, and just flat out lying about not just Doctor Who, but just the world in general, saying, oh, there's these big conspiracies, buying into all of this effectively propaganda. And I think that was very well represented with Conrad throughout this episode. Like, you can see the journey. It doesn't feel silly or tacked on or like it's giving the message, as people say. And it was nice to see Ruby's birth mum crop up again as well. We still haven't seen her dad, so trickster. Ruby is the daughter of the trickster, confirmed. No, I wonder if we'll ever see him, probably not. Then Ruby goes away to a little English village, I presume like Conrad's, where he was born or where he lives or something. And I really liked the detail tying into the whole PTSD thing of she can't stop thinking there's an alien invasion. And to be fair, she's being led to believe that in this little town. She's being gaslit, properly gaslit, but all the lights flickering, and Ruby, you can see in Millie Gibson's performance, she is really paranoid. Like, she's expecting an alien at any point, and I think she says, there's a line about her saying she's constantly living and running on adrenaline and she can't control it. She even goes as far as to ring up Kate and Unit. And I've got to say, Kate's presence in this episode as well was just fantastic. I think, I don't know what's going on, but she's got so much more depth than she used to.
Let him come.
We did still get, though, the obligatory, I am the Brigadier's daughter line, which I feel like has been said every episode where Kate pops up. But it's interesting to take note. I mean, we were kind of spoiled last year in the Empire of Death audio commentary, but there's something going on between Kate and Colonel Ibrahim. it feels a bit random, I can't lie. I'm not opposed to it. Like, I'm sure, I mean, The War Between the Land and the Sea, the spin-off Unit versus Sea Devils, is also written by Pete McTighe, who wrote this episode, so I'm sure it will go somewhere. It just feels a little bit random, in my opinion. Not bad random, I just don't quite... Like, I don't know. I mean, they interacted nicely in this episode, and I thought their chemistry was maybe not 100% there, but it was there. Once again, we'll discuss it later, but I really liked the line where he sort of calls out Kate at the end of the episode. He's like, you went a little bit too far there. I also thought that Unit, having all those secret vaults underground where Kate goes to check if the Shriek is still in containment, was a really nice thing, very reminiscent of Torchwood and how they had their little vaults. I thought it would have been fun to see a couple of cameos from a couple of creatures there, but that's the Doctor Who fan talking inside me. That doesn't detract from the episode. Then we cut back to Ruby and Conrad in the pub, where she actually starts crying, and I think this is the moment she says she has PTSD from all the adventures, and once again, their bond really, like, you really feel for Ruby. And you think, yeah, like, Conrad, you might be a little bit head in the clouds, but you and Ruby together works, and it's making Ruby happy, and you're comforting her, and he is exactly what she needs in that moment. But then it becomes abundantly apparent that things are afoot. There are, or we're led to believe, there are shrieks outside on the loose. I love that bit, because Ruby sort of snaps into what do I do without the Doctor mode. And I think her antidote to that is almost, I will act like the Doctor to try and ward off this situation. I loved as well that line where there's some sort of like old guy sat at the bar and he goes like, Ruby says don't go outside, and he's like, why not? And she's like, oh, well, go on big man, give it a try or something. Like, that was so funny. I do think the dialogue and the writing of this episode have just, 10 out of 10, really good. No, he says, sorry love, who put you in charge?
Oh, go and get some fresh air, big man.
It was fun. I want to see more of that side of Ruby, just the sarcastic, like, oh, go on, shut up. This, though, is where my first thoughts of, something's not right happen. Why did Conrad... I mean, obviously it's explained afterwards, but my initial thought, if there are these demon creatures outside, why does neither Conrad nor anybody in that pub try and stop Ruby from going and facing them alone? Conrad's a pretty naff boyfriend if he's just letting Ruby go outside and face this alone. He doesn't even attempt to go, no, we should both stay inside and call the police. He does, however, want to go out there himself, and he wants to show her, I'm the Doctor, and all this. And I thought that was quite nice and believable. But yeah, this isn't a plot hole though, because then she's outside, Conrad comes to see her, and the Unit entrance, like, Unit in this era have been a point of contention for a lot of people, because they're supposed to be kind of secretive, but then I suppose if it's established everybody knows about aliens anyway, so they aren't really a secret anymore. But the Unit entrance sequence was just so good. The music properly popped off as well. I think it's the little motif they used in the 60th anniversary as well. But the helicopter coming in, the shots of all those trucks with their flashing lights, the soldiers, the guns, all of that was just so effective. And it really does pump you up. Like, it's like, I think the track's called Unit Rocks from Series 4, but it gets you going. You're like, yeah, Unit are here, the day's going to be saved. We're on the side of Kate Stewart and all that lot. And it was really nice to see Shirley Ann Bingham, Unit's scientific advisor, back as well. And I thought the reveal was just so good. Like, you see the shrieks coming through the lights, and they're kind of obscured. Like, there's no close-ups of them, and then they just stand up. You're like, what's going on here? Why are they standing up? Like, it looks a bit goofy. And then they take off the masks, and the whole thing's a hoax. And I loved the shift. Like, there's that, I think the shot lingers, it zooms in on Conrad, and he just looks so smug and punchable. And you see it in Millie Gibson's performance and the close-up of Ruby's face as well. Like, her world, her reality comes crashing down in that moment, and it's properly heartbreaking, because you've really been rooting for them. But then, you kind of immediately in that moment, my mind was flashed back to the rest of the episode, and it was too good to be true. The dropping the papers on the floor, the whole act that Conrad was giving of, like, he was basically the perfect boyfriend. Anything Ruby needed, he would act as. He fulfilled her needs there. And it's just such a shame that it's not real. I think that's what makes it effective as well. Like, as an audience member, I was sat there rooting for this pair to live happily ever after, and then for that to be taken away. And it's not like, oh no, he made a sacrifice and he died. He was just lying the whole time. And I think as well, Think Tank is a callback to Robot, the classic era story, Tom Baker's first ever story, where I think there was like an anti-government, anti-unit group with that name. This is like the modern evolution of them. And it's a very interesting play on all these conspiracy theorists and, as I keep saying, the right-wing grifter side of YouTube. I think Jonah's performance, the guy who plays Conrad, was just so effective. Like, when he pulls open the shirt and he's like, yeah, we're Think Tank, look at Unit, they're a bunch of losers. And it was quite funny when you got that shot where it's like the live stream and they go up to Kate and they're like, oh, what do you have to say? And she's just like, get that camera out of my face. Like, I think Kate's characterisation in this episode was really good as well. The whole thing was just, it was really strong, and this was such an effective and fun reveal. I say fun, it was entertaining to watch. It pulls on your heartstrings, it angers you as well. Like, there's something about Conrad as well, as soon as he turns, you just want to punch him in the face, which I think is the desired effect, but he's so smug, and there's absolutely no winning as well, because obviously, once again, it's all the metaphors, but nothing you say to these people can be combated. Like, even on this YouTube channel, for example, I get comments from people, shout out, you're probably watching this and you're going to comment it again today, going, the BBC pay you off, blah, 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 and I'm like, I reply to them and go, look, actually, the BBC don't pay me off. And then they go, why do you always delete my comments? And I go, I haven't once deleted your comments. And then they deleted their own comment. Like, I might even put in screenshots of it, because I took screenshots because it was just insane. But the truth to these people does not matter. It is simply they will fit anything around their agenda, even if they know it's not true. They will try and con other people. They will try and make people believe. And I see it happening so much online nowadays, especially with the reaction to current Doctor Who.
I don't accept your reality.
GB News. How many times have cowards on the internet blamed all of Doctor Who's the rating problems? It's because of woke. It's not because of woke. And I think this message comes at an incredibly important time as well, when, like, if you look at the Reform Party in the UK, the country is in a state. And Ruby, it might not be Ruby, someone really narrows it down. No, it is Ruby when she says it's about power. It's not just about the money or the fame that comes with these lies and right-wing grifting online. It's also about the power that these people hold. And once again, it ties in with young Conrad. He had no power. He was powerless. He was an outcast as a kid. So to then want to grow up, and it's why he ends up wanting to join Unit. He's not joining for the right reasons when he applies for that job. He's joining because he wants power. And without, obviously, it's not all policemen that do it, but you sometimes get policemen that will join the police force because they want power. And that's what Conrad was trying to do when he joined Unit. The whole thing is just about power. I thought this metaphor was done so much better than in the Robot Revolution, where this is what I was talking about with the difference in, like, out of touchness in the Robot Revolution, when Alan goes like, yeah, I play video games, so I want power. It's a bit cringe and feels like, hello, fellow kids. Whereas this didn't feel too on the nose. It felt very naturally woven into the story. And I will be interested to see whether the right-wing grifter channels call this episode out as this was an attack on me, or whether they just will create their own reality, which I'm just saying, reality war, that's the finale. I think we know where this is headed because of that post-credit scene, but we'll talk more about Mrs. Flood later. The whole thing is done very effectively, and I loved the montage as well, where you get him sat on the one show, and Trinity Wells makes a return as well. She was anti-Zedex before, and now she's off on the American equivalent of GB News, Fox News, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what Fox News actually posts, I just know that's an American media thing. I also thought that "you're just a rejected cosplayer" line was very funny. Ruby has some very good dialogue in this episode. And once again, that point of them creating their own reality and not believing anything people say is when he says that, "Is Ruby Sunday even your real name? That's ridiculous." And the ableism that he displays towards Shirley as well. Like, it's going fully in with this metaphor. And I loved that Shirley actually reveals, in fact, it's Conrad who's the tax dodger, not her. Because I think that is the thing. You will find with all of these people online that spout all of this rhetoric, they're massive hypocrites who are just obsessed with power. I also thought there was another really nice line where they said, I think it's Kate, stands with like the cabinet or whatever. She comes back to unit. Shirley asks her, like, how did that talk with the government go? And she says, the ministers only care about their jobs, which I think that is an especially poignant point when we've just had the Supreme Court ruling in the United Kingdom, where once Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, was saying, but when he wanted to be elected, when it was cool, he was going, oh yeah, I stand with trans people. But then, once you've got the power, and once there's a lot of angry voices in the public, Keir Starmer's perspective is kind of switched round. And I think it's very nice in this episode to emphasise, without being too on the nose, that, yeah, politicians, they're not very nice. One part of the story that did slightly confuse me after this, though, is that guy that was working on the inside for Conrad. I can't remember his name. He's like the guy in the chair, tech man, who Shirley actually invites out when they go in the helicopter and stuff. He sort of went against Conrad a bit, but also he was working in league with Conrad. I didn't really get what he was getting from Conrad and his arrangement. Well, like, why did he break Conrad into unit? Like, I don't quite get that. I suppose he listens to Conrad's podcast, so he might have been radicalised a bit, but also, I don't know. Also, the Vlinks. What is the Vlinks? It just sort of sits there, and it's like Mr. Smith, but not as good. It's just, like, because he just leaves when the Shriek's there. Not Mr. Smith, the Vlinks just goes into the floor. It's like, what is the point of it? I don't mind it though. It's fun to have like a supercomputer presence. I feel like it would feel weird, and it's better than the Rumiant, which we talked about this in our Doctor Who podcast that you should go and check out. But Russell T Davies once planned to have a giant cow in Unit HQ operating all the computers, who was going to whip off their head, and it was actually going to be Stephen, the classic companion, in disguise as a cow, and I think they were going to be called the Rumiant. So, whenever you complain about the Vlinks, at least it's not a secret unit cow. But anyway, Conrad breaks into this building with the help of whatever that bloke's name was. He then... I thought this was a bit silly as well. Surely the soldiers would be able to overpower him. He knocks out a soldier, he steals the gun, he goes upstairs, and this is where Kate Stewart's character has probably done the most interesting thing she's ever done in Doctor Who.
Stop the lift.
No, wait. Let him come.
What?
He's coming up in the lift. The Vlinks, Ruby, Shirley, Colonel Ibrahim, they're all like, okay, let's stop the lift. We could jam him in there. And Kate's like, no. You're going to let him come up here. He's trying to ruin my legacy. He's trying to ruin my father's legacy. You are going to let him come up here. And the line, like, you're lucky the Doctor isn't here now, that's used in our Doctor Who fan film, Echo's Destiny Part 2. No spoilers, though. But it's such a good line. It was yeah. I loved seeing Kate go a little bit too far. And as I say, she gets called out for it by Colonel Ibrahim at the end of the episode. But you can once again completely understand. There's no acting out of character for all these people, especially when riled up. Like, Conrad is insulting the Brigadier, he's insulting her father. And I know people joke, and I joked at the start of this video about the obligatory "I'm the Brigadier's daughter" line. But I think it worked. Like, in this context, it was better than in Power of the Doctor when the Master just goes, "Your dad was an idiot." Which, it was a fun line, but it's a bit childish, bit random. I really liked the way Conrad did it, because you could tell as well, he's done his research, and he wanted that job at UNIT. This is all, like, revenge and about power, and I think Kate says it's about grandstanding and ego, which it just, it's so good. And you get more of Conrad's delusional lies when he says about Kate, because I think he's live streaming, or he's recording at least, and Kate calls him out and says, like, "You've shot people to get up here and you're saying we're the bad people?" And Conrad just goes, No, I didn't. Maybe you shot people. Like, I did love as well that Ruby, despite all the stuff Conrad has done to her, is still sort of begging Kate, don't kill him. Please, Kate, don't like let this go too far. Shirley even says at one point as well, like, Kate, okay, we need to stop. But she lets the Shriek out of the vault. It's chasing Conrad round. It was such a fun little sequence, because the thing is, obviously, you don't want Conrad to die because he's been fleshed out. Like, you see why he's reached this point. In a way, he's a bit pathetic, and you feel sorry for him. He's so deluded, he's so hungry for power that, yeah, sure, it would be nice to see him punched in the face, but you don't want him dead. And Kate bringing up her dad as well. What does she say? She says something like, his legacy will not be destroyed by you, as the Shriek's getting right into his face. Then Ruby tasering him. Well, not Conrad, she tasers the Shriek. I think the Shriek was a bit, like, it started off quite creepy and spooky, but by this point it wasn't really a threat at all. But then it doesn't need to be. Like, I think the episode is very much a character piece on Ruby, on Conrad, on Kate. It's a political allegory. It's talking about unit and stuff as well. So I think, yeah, the monster itself wasn't memorable, wasn't good, but it's like the best comparison, Love and Monsters. It's like, I think it's called the hoax, that thing that they're running around from and do the little Scooby-Doo montage with. It's kind of like that. It's not the focus of the story, it's just a nice addition. And then even after they've tasered the Shriek, Conrad still gets up and is like, well, nice special effects. And I love that it bit him on the arm, because as I keep saying, it's the perfect balance. You want to see Conrad get punched in the face, but you don't want him to die. And thankfully, he got bitten on the arm. Because it also, like, you can't really deny that. You've got a bite from this monster. Like, that serves him right. Then, as I've already mentioned, I think we cut to the next day or the morning after or whatever, and Colonel Ibrahim has that really nice little moment with Kate where he says, like, you went too far, and she doesn't actually listen to him, which I think, if she just went, yeah, I know, it would be less effective. Like, I like the character they're building for Kate, and I wonder what decisions she'll end up making that maybe the Doctor will disagree with in the future. I think they're setting Kate up to be similar to the Brigadier, that the Doctor often disagrees. They're both working for the same method, but like the Doctor disagrees with the way she goes about it. Then you get a really funny, well, it's a nice moment between Kate and Ruby, where Kate's just reassuring her, and Shirley just comes past and goes like, oh, like, you've already got 2 mothers, don't be greedy. Like, that was another fun line. And Ruby talks about, like, she's been waiting in limbo for the Doctor, but she needs to sort of find herself, which I think is a very natural and fitting, not conclusion to her arc, but continuation of her arc, because we know she's going to crop up in, I think, 2 episodes' time in the finale. Then, the big moment that's going to get everybody talking for a very long time. The TARDIS arrives in Conrad's cell, which immediately I'm like, what's going on there? Like, how the Doctor and Belinda are stranded, but then it becomes abundantly apparent this is the Doctor pre the robot revolution. And I love the interconnectivity of it all. This is where the Doctor got Belinda's name from. Conrad says, have you met Belinda Chandra yet? So the Doctor naturally goes to track down Belinda Chandra. It's such a nice loop. Although it did kind of make me question, why was the Doctor completely absent from the rest of the episode? I mean, I know him and Ruby aren't sort of seeing each other at that moment, but like, I don't know, would he not have gone to Unit, gone to Ruby to talk to them after this event? Did he? Was that shown off screen? And also, this is one moment where I initially, when they started the scene, I was like, oh, is this going to go a little bit ham-fisted with the political commentary? But I think Ncuti's performance and the way it's delivered, and I can't remember all the lines off the top of my head, as I say, I've only watched it once, but it was very effective, and I think it was very fitting to give Ncuti the scene in which he effectively gets to say to these right-wing grifters, shut up, stop lying, there's nothing we can do to stop you lying. And I loved as well, like, it's when I'm talking about this darker streak in Ncuti's Doctor, I was surprised they went this far, but him just saying straight up to Conrad, do you want to know how you'll be remembered? You will die alone in a prison cell, age 55. Like, it was so harsh, it was brutal, but once again, you understand why he's done that. Like, the Doctor loves and cares for Ruby and Unit and the legacy and all that, and obviously you've got this big metaphor of the right-wing grifters, which I think it was so fitting for the 15th Doctor to be the one to say, shut up. And the line, I don't accept your reality, I reject it, is so smugly delivered. And he used the buzzword, reality. I'm telling you, that's coming back in the reality war. Conrad, I don't know what he's going to do in the reality war, but something will happen. His reality will come into fruition because of Wishworld. And then we get what felt like a Marvel post-credits scene. Mrs. Flood walking down the corridor. He's in prison. He's got a bandage on his arm. Mrs. Flood's got the keys. And what did she say about the TARDIS? She's like, oh, it's much bigger, innit? Or something. Like, that was a funny line. And I initially thought, when we heard a noise of a TARDIS, is this going to be Mrs. Flood's TARDIS? And part of me was wondering, is that Doctor a projection from Mrs. Flood or anything? But no, it's the real Doctor. And obviously, Mrs. Flood is breaking him out of prison. I don't know why or what for. I think things will become clear as we get deeper into the series. But she calls herself the Governor as well. Is that a clue? It feels like a Time Lord title. There's not a Time Lord called the Governor, but yeah, I'm intrigued. Let me know your theories on Mrs. Flood in the comments, because this was one of the most intriguing appearances from her. It's a proper Marvel post-credit scene, breaking the villain out of prison. Yeah, we're going to team up and do something evil. But I genuinely don't see exactly where it's going, and that's good. That's nice. I want to piece it together as the season goes on. Next week's episode looks like good fun as well. Make sure you subscribe with the notification bell on to get my review of that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. All the usuals, you can check out my Patreon, etc. if you want early access to the podcasts and stuff. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you!
She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.